Okay. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Eastpointe City Council on Tuesday, October the 15th, 2019, at 7 p.m. Please rise for the invocation given by none other than Dan Zander and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Lord, for this wonderful day, for a wonderful weekend in the evening. Lord, we just wanted to be with the City Council for this, so we can be smooth and so we can learn what we have to do to this Eastpointe. We love you, Lord, and we keep on going, and we do as much as we can do. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item is to have the 8 Mile Boulevard Association come up and give a little presentation. And council, you will remember that this year is the first year that we decided to hold back on the dues while it got reorganized. So I met with them a couple weeks ago, and it sounds like it's really reorganized. So I invited them to come and talk to council and tell them what a lot of the new and exciting things you're doing. So I don't know who's taking it over, Jordan or?
I'll start out, but yeah, thank you again, Mayor Pixley, for meeting with us a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now.
And speak into the microphone real loud and please state your name.
Yeah, so my name is Jacob Jones. I'm the operations manager for the 8 Mile Boulevard Association. We've been around since 1993. We were founded by the 16 communities and counties up and down 8 Mile Boulevard to really serve as a conduit between the different communities, the businesses, and the actual citizens who live up and down 8 Mile Boulevard, trying to get everybody working together and ensuring that we are all moving towards common goals. We did go through a year of transition, as the mayor noted, but we have relaunched. We have new initiatives. I've shared the packet of everything we have going on with all the council members. It will be available on our website as well. But we've really emerged from our transition period with a greater sense of community involvement. We no longer, what we're really known for is revitalization projects, but we're no longer going to go to large sponsors and ask them what projects they want done. Instead, we are going to use community task forces where we bring together planners, public safety officials, community members, and small business owners to develop projects that will best suit their community. We are going to facilitate this over the course of about 6 months, planning out these projects. We will use our organization to kind of vote on which project that we decide to go through with. And then even if a certain project that was selected by some community members doesn't become our main one, we will facilitate ways to get those projects funded with our sponsors who are on board. That's kind of a rundown of everything we're working on, but to give a better rundown of kind of why we went into a transition and where we are now, I'm going to turn it over to our chairman, Jordan Twardy from the city of Ferndale.
Thanks, Jacob. Mayor Pixley, Council, thanks for having us here tonight. Folks from Eastpointe, thanks for letting us share the mic this evening. Again, my name is Jordan Twardy. My day job is the Community and Economic Development Director for the city of Ferndale, just down the street. And I do serve as the chair of the board of directors for the 8 Mile Boulevard Association. And like Jacob said, I wanted to give some context for the transition. So 8 Mile Boulevard Association, founded in '93, as often happens with nonprofits of really any size, eventually you get to a point where there needs to be a reflection period of what is our mission? Are we still achieving that mission? And is the way we go about that work still relevant today? And a lot of times with small nonprofits, and Jacob alluded to this, when the primary avenue for achieving your mission is raising funds, you get caught in the trap of aligning with ever-changing priorities of the funding community. And so what happened as 2019 came into being, by the calendar pages moving, if you will. I don't know why I tried to make that sound a little more epic than it was, just dates. But as 2019 came about, it really became a renewal of vows of sorts. The member communities decided that we were still interested in achieving this collaborative mission along 8 Mile Road. And there was a dip in our productivity and a dip in that fundraising, and that precipitated some very hard conversations about how will we do what we're doing, and kind of a reminder that the relationships that this organization cultivated over more than 20 years, now kind of starting to flirt with 30 years, those aren't automatic. Those don't just happen. They take blood, sweat, tears, and collaboration and time and coming and showing up for each other. So the member communities from I-275 in the west and I-94 in the east, the State Department of Transportation, the 3 counties, Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, all got together and reaffirmed, and the packet that Jacob gave over to you is a highlight of some of the work that we decided. And so we reorganized our activities, and we really focused on what it was that we knew needed to happen on 8 Mile, and that was collaborative conversations between the governments, breaking down barriers to do things like economic development, neighborhood interventions, fixing blighted properties, attracting new businesses, plugging in neighborhood groups. So we've all sort of redoubled our efforts to achieve that work. We're very excited about having Jacob on board. We partnered with the organization Challenge Detroit, another nonprofit that kind of connects young talent with organizations like ours, small organizations like 8 Mile, large companies like DTE, and everybody in between. And it brings these passionate professionals to organizations to carry out mission work. And so we've had Jacob on board since August, and he's really done a great job in helping get our house reorganized and ramping things back up. And our signature event, the Leadership Luncheon, which was our primary fundraiser, that is back on track. We're going to be having that again at the end of the month of March. March 26th will be in TCF Center. We bring 700 to 800 people from across the region in that room. Jacob's made some really exciting changes with the event committee. We had meetings with our big sponsors this morning. There are several that are very interested in renewing their sponsorships, getting back to business of supporting the 8 Mile corridor. And one of the reasons we wanted to come to Eastpointe tonight is the mayor had alluded to, we know that you have not renewed your membership yet, and that's okay. And what we want to do is we want to get out and spark that conversation with every community and talk about, as you consider whether or not to do that, what are some things that we can do to increase that value for you? Now, Mary Van Haren was part of the transition conversation, so Eastpointe was at the table for those. And so even as we had that larger conversation, however, we want to take the time to go to each member community and drill down and talk about some of the projects and priorities that you have for your community, and how can this new look 8 Mile Boulevard Association, with this renewed focus on its mission, how can that better apply to what you're trying to achieve on your side of the dais here in Eastpointe, and what can we be doing to help advance that? One of the biggest values that we have brought to our member communities is extending reach. So one community can do a certain amount of things on their own. 13 communities acting in unison can do a slightly larger set of things. And so one of the things we want to do is make sure that you feel fully plugged into that effort, and that effort is serving your priorities. So that's what tonight is really about, is closing the information gap and making sure you're fully up to date on where we are and where we've been and who we are, because there's been some changing faces as well. And to start that conversation of what can we do to better serve the city of Eastpointe and to ensure that membership is a two-way street of value. So we did want to open it up to questions, unless, Jacob, if there's anything else you wanted to add as far as the presentation goes.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing, actually, concerning the luncheon. In the past, it's been used as a kind of format to get the big four, if you will, leaders of Macomb, Oakland, Wayne, and Detroit on stage for a panel conversation. And we're moving away from that. Part of our whole recommitment to communities is to ensure that our member communities are an equal part of our largest event. We are introducing something that we're calling Virtual 8 Mile, which will be a physical embodiment of 8 Mile inside TCF Center, Cobo Hall, where each member community will have a table, a poster, kind of a booth, if you will, where they will be able to present their 8 Mile centered accomplishments, their vision for 8 Mile in their region, or their dreams for what each community wants on the boulevard. So once again, it's not just bringing Eastpointe into meetings and helping to decide the projects we'll be working on, but really getting that value where you can come and be on an equal footing with these other member communities and really share all the great work you're doing. We really want to, I don't want to say give a voice. I mean, obviously you all have really important voices, but kind of turn up the megaphone a little bit and ensure that the great work that's going on in Eastpointe or in Harper Woods or Royal Oak Township is being heard by the people in Livonia or Farmington Hills, and really try to not just get everybody working together behind closed doors, but really put that unity out there for 700 to 800 people to see. So, thank you.
Anyone have any questions? I think it sounds very exciting. Mary Van Haren has been really involved with related to economic development along the corridor, and Joe Marucci's been to several of the meetings as well. The luncheons have always been, Carter, you've attended, I think, every luncheon. And I can't remember, I know the chamber went to a couple of the luncheons. It's kind of interesting that when Eastpointe was one of the original members of the 8 Mile corridor, and the mayor that was here at the time when it was first developed is here right now. So, Harvey? Yeah, so he was here at the time, and he was one of the 4 leaders, along with the city manager at the time, to inspire and bring people together along the corridor to improve it. And along the years, they've done a phenomenal job. So it was just a little bit distressing to us to see some of it fall down, but Jordan, I'm glad you're there, and you did a great job of bringing it back, and we look forward to seeing some more. And as I mentioned before, this is my last meeting, but I will be there because I really have always admired the 8 Mile Boulevard. Thank you, guys. All right, we have a proclamation for tonight. This is for Halloween, and I was going to give this to somebody else to do. And Sarah told me, no, this is my last proclamation I will ever read, and so it would be smart for me to read it tonight. So this is for Halloween. The City of Eastpointe proclamation designates Thursday, October the 31st as Halloween Trick-or-Treat Day. Whereas the children of Eastpointe are entitled to the fun and festivity associated with the observance of the Halloween trick-or-treat custom, that is, going from door to door in their immediate neighborhoods, displaying their costumes and requesting treats. And whereas the Teal Pumpkin Project is raising awareness of food allergies and promoting inclusion of all trick-or-treaters throughout the holiday season, and whereas the increasing possibility of accidents is an even present threat. And whereas it would appear that parents generally favor the early evening hours for trick-or-treat outings since this period promotes greater visibility and tends to limit participation to younger children with whom the observance was originally intended. So now, therefore, the mayor and the city council of Eastpointe do hereby proclaim that Halloween, Thursday, October the 31st, shall also be known as Trick-or-Treat Day in Eastpointe. So we further ask both children and their parents to cooperate in limiting the time of trick-or-treat activities to the period between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. And we also ask that young children be accompanied by parents or other responsible adults. We further request that householders indicate their willingness to welcome children by keeping their porch or exterior lights on, and that youngsters can call only at homes that are so lighted. Finally, we encourage the cooperation of all citizens, young and old, in making this a very happy and a safe holiday for all kids. So please observe those times for Halloween. And I know that there are a number of trunk or treats going on at various churches in different locations throughout the city. So please also pay attention to traffic around those areas. All right, please call a roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Here.
Councilperson Lucido?
Here.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Here.
Councilperson Owens?
Here.
Mayor Pixley?
Here. Our next item is the approval of the agenda, and council, I would like to take off under new business. Commission appointments, section 2, appointments to the Arts and Cultural Division Commission, and I'll explain that in my comments later. So if I have approval for that, please.
I'll move to approve the agenda with that change.
Support?
Move and support, please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
And with that, we'll move into the first hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard?
Madam Mayor, I think we need to add one more item, though, to the agenda. The continuation of Mr. Cotton's contract.
Was that ready to be discussed tonight?
Yeah, it was sent out last night.
And one more thing, are we going into closed session this evening? Or no? No. vote?
I don't know. I haven't heard about it.
Okay. So just a contract?
I'm not requesting a closed session.
No, me neither.
Anybody else? I thought this was going to be a short meeting.
I think this one will be short, the one added item, I believe. Right. So I'll motion to add Mr. Cotton's contract then to the agenda in new business. I think we all have, the information was in front of us.
Support.
Okay, motion and support. Please call the roll to add the contract.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
All right, let's move on to the hearing of the public, please. Mr. Mann?
Patrick Mann, East Point resident. Just wish to say thank you, Madam Mayor. Job well done. 12 years of being on the job. I think that you did an outstanding job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am? Please come forward.
Christine Timmons, new citizen of Eastpointe. Well, I've studied the ranked choice issue, and it appears they're clinging to one section, Section 2. But it's 25 more that override it. In 2013, Section 4B of the Voting Rights Act was ruled unconstitutional by the United States Supreme Court because the coverage formula is based on data over 40 years old and is no longer responsive to current need, and therefore an impermissible burden on principles of federalism and equal sovereignty of the state. The state of Michigan is not one of the covered states under VRA. With the striking down of 4B, obsolete coverage formula, no jurisdiction will be subject to number 5. Therefore, no preclearance is required without a court order and without a change by the U.S. Constitution. So I'm not sure we should have been bailed into this new thing. Ranked choice voting is a war on voting right. Ranked choice voting is a creative type of voter restriction. In Section 3, bailing in a jurisdiction, the court must find a jurisdiction intentionally discriminate against minorities. That's not what happened. This is gentrification. It's going on all over the country. Just because you just got in there, that don't mean that people voting against you. You ain't got enough people yet. You got to do some get out the vote stuff and become known. Like Simone Biles, everybody in the universe know her because of her accomplishments. Christine Timmons, the same story. I make myself known. Get your voters out. Don't just sit here and say that we in Eastpointe discriminate, because that is not true. And then under the Constitution of the state of Michigan, Article 1 is abridged because it says all political power belongs to the people. Article 3 says no men or set of men are entitled to separate privileges. Article 6, the right of conscience, vote your conscience. Article 7, freedom of speech. Also, RCV was voted unconstitutional in Maine. In California, saw 600,000 voters were eliminated. In New York, one candidate was trailing, but at the end, they gave the other candidate the independent votes, and he won. And it tells you clearly the city will be the one actually doing this. So technically, the city council meeting is already done. The city's going to decide that. That girl told you that. I'm telling people, go in there and vote for one person. They can't do this 2/3 vote. It's a violation of Article 1, Section 2. You can't split the people into 3/5 and all that. That's been outlawed. So a vote is a person. So all of these things override. And then it's the free speech in the Constitution. Then it's Amendment number 15 that say neither the state or the United States can do anything to deny or abridge the people's right to vote based on race and color. And that woman stood there and said, oh, we trying to elect colored people and women. You can't do it that way. But go ahead. You done got this district judge to do this, and you done got the Department of Justice. But let me tell you, I'm going to fight this all the way to the end.
You have 30 seconds.
Until we have the freedom to vote our choice. We should have went to award voting. That's where everybody's in it. And this thing here, you eliminate people votes. And I'm telling people to write down your ballot number. And on my information, you can contact ballot tracks if you're absentee, and they'll tell you where your vote went. And you can also do the same thing with other votes. You just have to call them and make sure your county is in there. Don't vote for one person. If your vote goes somewhere else, sue them.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Please. Please state your name.
My name is Larry Edwards, East Point resident. I just want to piggyback on Ms. Timmons. I'm one that don't agree with her on most issues, on a lot of things. But this ranked choice voting, I agree 99%.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Curley?
Good evening, Harvey Curley, Eastpointe. I was going to wait until the second hearing of the public, but I was afraid that 3/4 of the folks would be gone. So I too, as Mr. Mann said, want to take the opportunity to address my comments to Mayor Pixley. 12 years of being mayor is a very long time. And there are things that the mayor has done for this city that none of us will realize. The meetings that she went to, the discussions she had with city officials, state officials, federal officials, were all to benefit our city. So, Mayor Pixley, our gratitude can't be big enough to say that, but we thank you for that. And you know what? Sometimes when you, well, Tuesdays, I'm just going to say Tuesdays, the second and third, you're going to have to find something else to do. So if any of you all have any ideas what Suzanne can do on every other Tuesday, maybe Uno or Monopoly or Sorry or something like that. And what I'd like to have everybody do to give a great round of applause, would you all please stand up and give her a rousing round of applause? Stand up, please.
Thank you so much. You're going to have me crying. But Harvey, if you're wondering what I'm doing on Tuesday, I'm not playing that game with you because that goes on for all night long. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Don?
John D. Hunt, it's a little hard to top Mr. Curley's comments, so I'm simply going to say second Tuesday, cocktails at Villa. First thought. My second thought would be in reference to the ranked choice voting. I agree with probably most everybody in this room. I think it is horrifically unconstitutional, and I recommend that we all vote for chicken. Because apparently the example's going around, we have 4 lovely choices, so I'm saying we all vote for chicken. And it is that ridiculous that I even have to say something like that. Our voice is being stifled. People can say whatever they want. We've made an accommodation to the Justice Department, so we didn't have to go through this, but we're being stifled. That's the only way it can be done. So, chicken for City Council.
Does anyone else wish to be heard at this time? Mr. Creech?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Harvey Creech, and thank the council. I say thank you for putting up with me for the last 12 years. I'm not the easiest person, and I said the same thing about it, but I tell you, I know we've had our good times, we've had our bad times. And that's just about more or less what I can say. And we, all of us here, have appreciated it because you have worked your butt off. And I say, I don't. It's time for you to leave. But one of us is going to pick up the gauntlet, pick up the sword, and we'll try to walk in your footsteps. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Creech. Anyone else wish to be heard? Ms. Gladney?
I am Miss Gladney. Tonya, here's my thing about this ranked voting. All the city council agreed to it due to the fact of the DOJ. Now, all the residents in here, you strongly disagree with it. Now, here's my problem. Before we start training, no one raised their voice. No one said anything. Now it's coming down to 2 weeks before we actually have to choose a candidate for city council, and everybody have concerns. Now, we have 2 seats that's gonna be open. y'all never open your mouth. So if you don't get your candidate in there that you want, the way that it was explained during the training, that it would be in our best interest to choose 4 candidates. Your first choice, your second choice, and your third choice, and your fourth choice. If you choose just only one candidate, and they don't have enough numbers for the third and fourth, they're automatically eliminated. And if you choose, for example, if your first choice is whoever, and they don't get enough votes, which is 50%, they lose. So where was your voice before we had this training? And it might be unconstitutional, but nobody spoke up. No one said anything. And everybody on city council had to agree with it due to the fact of Department of Justice. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'm sorry, was there someone else? Not till the second one, please. Anyone else? All right, first hearing of the public is closed. Let's move on to approval of the minutes, and the first one is the show cause meeting of September the 3rd, 2019.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the show cause meeting minutes of September 3rd, 2019.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Second item is the regular meeting of October the 1st, 2019. Do we have a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of October 1st, 2019.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Abstain.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
We have no scheduled hearings, no unfinished business. Move on to, we do have unfinished business, I'm sorry. Item A is the approval to the purchase of high-definition security cameras, a server, and associated supplies from Able Electronics for the police lockup area.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the quotation from Able Electronics for purchase of high-definition security cameras using GSA contract price.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. Item B is the second reading and the adoption of the ordinance 1176 to amend Chapter 28 under offenses, Article 12, municipal civil infractions, Section 28 to 353.
Madam Mayor, I will motion to give second reading to and adopt ordinance number 1176 to amend Chapter 28 offenses, Article 7, municipal civil infractions, Section 28-353 in regard to anti-smoke regulations of the codified ordinances of the city of Eastpointe.
Support.
Move and support. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Item C is the second reading and the adoption of ordinance 1177 to amend Chapter 18 related to environment, Article 3, nuisances, Section 18 to 48 in regard to nuisances.
Madam Mayor, I will make a motion to give second reading and adopt ordinance number 1177 to amend Chapter 18, Environment, Article 3, Nuisances, Section 18-48 in regard to nuisances of the codified ordinances of the city of Eastpointe.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll unless there's more discussion. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
And then one more under D is a second reading and the adoption of ordinance number 1178 to amend Chapter 28 offenses, Article 6, offenses against public safety.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to give second reading and adopt ordinance number 1178 to amend Chapter 28 offenses, Article 5, offenses against public safety, to add a new section in regard to storage of a firearm in a unlocked motor vehicle of the codified ordinances of the city of Eastpointe.
Support.
Move and support it. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido,
Yes, sorry.
Councilperson Owens,
Yes.
Mayor Pixley,
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico.
Yes.
All right, with that, we'll move on to reports from administration. We'll start with our interim city manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
Are you ready?
It's a pleasure to say that, yes. I too want to add my congratulations to Mayor Pixley. I counted some 350 council meetings that you've presided over. And in addition to that, I'm guessing over 2,000 other meetings that relate to city government, be they regional, state, neighborhood, or others. So that's quite a commitment, and those of us that spend a lot of time in meetings can really appreciate that kind of, in a way, it's heroic. So thank you.
Thank you.
I have 7 additional items, but I'd like to first ask our Assistant City Manager, Brian Fairbrother, to give you his latest update on ranked choice voting, and also I believe you have an update on IT, inclusive of live streaming.
Sure. Well, good evening, Mayor Pixley and City Council. I asked Ms. Rich from my office to get me some numbers to compare ballot returns from this election versus the 2017 November election, which would be the last local election. To put it in some perspective, the permanent absentee voter list has increased by over 2,000 individuals. In 2017, we had 2,800. Now we have just under 4,900 individuals on our permanent AV list. We have so far issued 2,962 ballots. Again, to put that in perspective, in comparison to the November of 2017 election, we had total votes, not just total AVs, but total votes for that election were 3,478. So right now our numbers are way up in terms of our absentee voter, people requesting absentee ballots. So far, we have had 129 people return their ballots, and as you guys probably know, they just went out a few days ago. We also have numerous events coming up for ranked choice voting. If anyone here in the crowd or anyone at home wishes to learn anything else regarding ranked choice voting, we will be in the Chesterberry Manor on 21st at 2 p.m. We will be having another ranked choice town hall on Tuesday the 22nd at 7 p.m. at Eastpointe High School. And then we will be having on Friday the 25th at 9 a.m. actually an election worker job fair. And on Wednesday the 30th at 10 a.m., if you really want to get into it, we will be having our public accuracy test. So everyone's invited to come, and that's where they can actually see how we will be tabulating our results. Let's see here. Oh, in our most recent edition of the CNG, you'll be seeing an advertisement for ranked choice voting. So even though I know there are some people here who disagree with it, we still are trying to get the message out because that's the way we will be voting in the November of 2019 election. So I still think it's pretty important for us to kind of know and understand that. But moving along to the domain name, Mr. Cotton familiarized me with some action that the council took about a year ago regarding the domain name for the purchase of eastpointemichigan.gov. So if there's no objection by the board, our IT department would like to implement that to run concurrently with all of our current domain names. So all of the .net and the .org domain names would still be in effect. So we'll all be able to keep our email addresses for right now. However, people would also be able to use the eastpointemichigan.gov, both domain URL and the domain for email addresses. So if you guys would like to discuss that further, I'm happy to. I personally think it's a great idea, just because we are a government entity, and there are numerous instances where, for things like Facebook advertisement, where Facebook is mandating that government agencies have a .gov URL in order to do things like Facebook advertisement. So, you know, It would not require department heads or anyone with stationery to go out and throw that stationery out. We don't have to go and buy all new business cards immediately. However, we would have the option of using that .gov domain name. So that concludes my reports. Thank you.
Any questions?
No, that's fine by me to implement the .gov.
So I think we've already paid the $400 that was required, did we not?
Yes,
Like a
ma'am.
year and a half ago?
It was exactly 1 year ago because I just renewed it.
And the question at the time was, did we have to change all our business cards and everything else? So as long as we can keep them all, I don't have a problem with it.
Yep, a .net or a .org domain name is typically about $15 a year. So I see no reason to get rid of those. It's a good practice to just hold on to them.
And then, so all future business cards and such will be .gov then?
That would be the intent, is a slow transition, yes.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
Nope.
All right, let's move on to the interim city manager, Mr. Cotton.
Thank you. We had a very unfortunate circumstance. I'm sure everyone here is aware of the fight at the Last Call Bar and Grill last Saturday morning and the unfortunate shooting. And our hope is that all will recover. I know that 4 have been released for the victims, and I think 2 are still in the hospital. Director Roheb can give us feedback on that if you'd like. But the reason I mention it is Attorney Albright and I, at the request of Director Roheb, have looked at what it takes to consider changes to the liquor license holder. In this case, it would be a revocation. There's also provision for non-renewal. I wrote up what I learned from Attorney Albright today, and it's on your table. You don't need to take action on it, but just to give you something to chew on in case you wanted to take action. The attorney needs to review the state law, make sure it's consistent with our 1983 language in our ordinance, and if so, then there's a procedure involving due process, hearings, evidence, creation, presentation, and then council decision to ask for recommendation out of the liquor control licensing agency. So you don't need to take action on this tonight. However, please let us know if you think this is not the right direction to go so we don't spin our wheels. But it does seem needed, given that there have been, this is a second instance in, I'm not sure how many years, 2 years, of a serious problem originating at that establishment. Anything to add, Attorney Albright?
Thank you, Mr. Cotton. Mayor, members of council, our office is exploring all options to prevent that serious and unfortunate incident from repeating itself. And so we will be coming back to council requesting authority to pursue those options. Right now I see 3 possible options without going into great detail this evening. Once we've thoroughly briefed those, I'll be bringing back a request to council for authority to pursue those.
Seeing no concerns about that, I'll move to the next item. This is something known as the tax reversion policy, which we do not have. We have a committee that's worked on it, and I won't take a lot of time tonight to go through the details, but I have a copy of it here. I printed it out, and the thought is that the city could proceed incrementally, the staff anyway, could proceed incrementally and begin to classify our tax reverted properties into non-residential, residential restorable, and residential slated for demolition, and then work with a variety of contractors through our usual bidding process, and then bring you something to consider in terms of taking action depending on what the property's condition was. And at that time, the city council could make some decisions about whether to incentivize employee ownership or what you want to do in relation to landlords or home ownership. At that time, those are some of the areas we haven't reached consensus on as a committee, but at least we would get the ball rolling here. And the reason I feel this is important is it does cost money to hold on to these properties, and it would save some time if we just got those balls rolling and then came back to you in that way. If anyone wants to see all the details, I know that Mayor Pro Tem Kleinfeld is very familiar with this, as is Councilmember Lucido. And it's still a draft, so we can make changes, but meantime, we're going to ramp up, get our steam engines going and ramp up the gears and bring you some actionable items.
Will you put a copy of that or send us each a copy of that?
Yes.
So we all have it.
Yes. Next is the Economic Development Manager. You heard a report from me about how many applicants. We have interviews slated for October 24th. I have an interview team that will create an eligibility list, recommendations that will go to the Civil Service Board first week in November, and then another interview team that will choose from the top 3 applicants after a second interview. So that's the process. So far, the top 6 that I've talked to, I think 12, and the top 6 are still interested and will be coming to those interviews. The initial interview team includes none other than our very own Randy Blum, James Vitrano, who's a colleague of mine but is not being paid for that volunteer assignment, Mark Wallenweber, also former city manager. He was just written up in Free Press. Linda, I'm going to butcher the last name, our Chamber of Commerce executive. And another person that I'm blanking on. Oh, Doug with McKenna. He works a lot with economic development. So they're going to do the first screenings and create the eligibility list for recommendation. The next is the next process associated with the city managers. We did have, I think the last time we spoke, maybe there were something like 14 on a short list out of 37. Our firm prints those names within our team nationally, and then I get feedback. So based on that feedback, we're down to 11 that are good candidates. And I'll end up doing, the next step is a Skype interview, and that will ramp us up to knowing the outcome of the charter change on November 6th, and the opportunity to work with the new council on November 11th on scheduling interviews. That council will be presented with books. The books will have all the details, background information, everything we know about whatever candidates survive the Skype interview, and then direction to me to go forward to set up whatever interviews that council would like to set up. So that's on track. While mentioning that, I want to point out for members of the audience and council and Attorney Albright, who's helped me with initial draft. This is a draft explanatory brochure or flyer about the charter change on the Eastpointe ballot. It reads, shall the charter of the city of Eastpointe be amended to eliminate the requirement providing the manager shall have at least 1 year experience as a manager or assistant manager in some city or village. I need to say at this outset that this is not, I'm not advocating that anyone vote any special way. This is written to explain what would happen if you vote yes. A yes vote will widen the applicant pool. If you vote yes, you will permit the city council to consider county, township, and other applicants that have general management and governmental experience in addition to those who have actual city management or assistant manager experience. On the other hand, if you vote no, a no vote will continue to limit the applicant pool, which has been the case. If you vote no, the charter will remain the same. The city council will limit its city manager considerations to only those candidates that have at least 1 year of specific city manager or assistant city manager experience. So I put this out before you as a draft. I especially want our attorney to remark if there's anything that seems amiss. Anyone can say anything they want to say. That I want to make sure it's educational, and to that end, the actual ballot language is on the back. Once the wording is finalized, this will be available everywhere that anyone meets or congregates, and I'd also like your thoughts. The last meeting, someone said, well, how are you educating people about this? And we did not have any real game plan. So one game plan would be to have a print ad. That would be about $1,500, depending on size and color. Another would be to do a mailing to all likely voters. That would be around $3,000. And I defer to council as to how we can do both. We can do either, we can do none. At a minimum, we'll have this distributed where people congregate. I'm open to any suggestions or your thoughts or. reactions.
Well, my first question I wanted to ask, when you said you would be Skyping with 11 candidates, is that 11 if the charter change does not pass, or 11 if it does pass?
There are 7 that meet the charter change and 4 that technically do not. But I think I think their candidacies are worth talking to them in the meantime.
Okay.
For my time. If the charter change does not pass, they will be advised their candidacy will not go forward.
Mr. Blum, and getting the information out to the voters, to the residents, do we have time to get it into the water bills for November? I don't think so.
I mean, we could, there's no guarantee it's gonna hit the mailboxes before the
No,
election.
I think it's got to be published.
Yeah.
I think publishing's the best way to go. I think it would take too
Absolutely.
long to
Right.
mail. I mean, although I'd be supportive of that, just because people are voting already, and they're not going to get this.
You've already had absentee ballots returned. I think you need to get it out as fast as possible, put the flyers in all the public places, and then try to get them into common restaurants and so forth.
And I think at any of the educational.
Besides giving it to Brandon, and you've already put some information in this week, did you not?
We are running a story a week from tomorrow.
Next week, right?
I think any forums we have about ranked choice, perhaps this information be made available then, too.
Can we do that? Can we add that to any ranked choice meeting?
Sure.
Bring some of these flyers.
Right, to pass the flyers out at least, and then
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
have someone directly talk about it, because I think it's critical that all the residents know about it, anybody that's going to be voting.
Very good. We will do as we just discussed. Last, there is an art show, and that art show is coming up in the Patriot Building on Thursday, 5 to 8, Friday, 4 to 8, and Saturday and Sunday. Compliments of our I'll get the commission's name wrong, but you know what it is, our Arts Commission.
Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission.
Thank you very much.
You gotta think of AC/DC, right? The band.
Yeah, you think I'm that old, huh? All right, and the last thing is the master plan for the parks. The Parks Commission is working on that, and they plan to bring you something in December.
Any questions? All right, thank you for such a great report. Mr. Blum?
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council. I just wanted to report that the on-site work by the auditors completed last night. So they are out of the building. That just means there's now a 4-week period of emails back and forth for clarification. But I can answer emails on my own time versus having them walk in the office and expect me to stop everything. So that's nice for me. One thing we do need to talk about is scheduling the audit meeting. It's been done as a separate meeting in the past. It's done before a regular meeting in the past. My thought was we're going to have at least one new member on council. And it might be better to have it as a separate meeting to give them a little more time to become familiar with everything. But that then limits it to, excuse me, either the Tuesday before Thanksgiving or the Tuesday between the 2 December meetings. We just need to kind of get a sense for where people want to go with this so I can get it scheduled with Plant Moran, get us on their calendar.
Does it have to be a Tuesday for Plant Moran, or you're just suggesting since we
that's-
always meet on Tuesday?
Yeah, just because that's where we normally meet.
Okay.
I'm open both of those.
I think it really should be before Thanksgiving, because then you can get it done. If there's any modifications or changes, you have the whole month of December to do it.
Yeah.
Now with that, I think, Mr. Cotton, we had potentially second interviews for city manager. We just work around that then if we needed to.
Right, audit would be a priority, I think.
Okay.
We can just do it all in one night.
Why not?
Well, really, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to start at 7 on the audit meeting.
We've done it. in
Do
the
it earlier
past.
at 6 or something.
Yeah, we could, I think we've started one in the past at 6 o'clock.
So much for being a relaxed meeting for the new member.
Gotta break them in.
Yeah. Okay.
So am I hearing consensus for the Tuesday before Thanksgiving then?
It's fine with me.
Check my schedule, and I'll get back to you all with that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. The other thing that, as far as audit goes, I know, or I think council knows that Eastpointe's been assisting the sanitary district in getting their audit complete due to a medical issue over there. We finally today got to the point of sending the trial balance into Plant Moran, so they can begin their audit as soon as they can get personnel out to the sanitary district. That is one thing that needs to be completed for us to formally complete our audit. So that's kind of one of those domino things. But they should be in good shape. Still waiting on their actuarial report, which is another 2 weeks off. But it'll be tight, but we'll get it done.
I think we contracted, it seems to me, way back in July for those actuaries, so this is insane that it goes on that long.
Yep, I know. And then the final item is, today was the deadline for the MIDC reporting for the state fiscal year reporting. And the report did get, the financial portion got in today. So that is now complete and on time. And I have not heard, the commission was supposed to meet today to review the fiscal year 20 budget for the MIDC. I expect to hear tomorrow, hopefully, that it's approved and that we can move forward. Assuming they approve it, there will be a new contract brought forward in November for council to adopt or approve the contract.
Will that also be retroactive like the last one?
It will be, yes.
How far back will it go?
October 1st. Yeah, it's a state fiscal year is how the contracts are termed. So
All the attorneys have been paid, as we motioned.
attorneys have been paid. Yep.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Any questions? Let's move on for the city attorney, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I have circulated a copy of the city's animal ordinance. A copy of this ordinance was also sent to the council members last Friday with proposed amendments as recommended by the police department, specifically the animal control officer. I've also, again, circulated a copy of this evening for council's review. It is a copy of the entire animal ordinance, so if the council would like, we can have this added to the next agenda for first reading. If there's any additions that the council would like to make or deletions, I can certainly make those and request that it be added to the next council agenda for first reading.
And all these changes and modifications were brought forward at the last council meeting, correct? With animal control. These are all the recommendations from animal control.
These were recommendations that were submitted to our office. I've met with the animal control officer, and he believes that the city would be best served if these amendments were made.
Okay.
I know it would take, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, it'd take some extra time, but maybe we just see, since we will have new council members by our next regular meeting, just discuss it then, and then maybe, as opposed to just their first meeting, having a first reading on something like that. I don't know if everyone else cared or whatnot.
Well, I mean, we have 2 readings on it. I'd rather go ahead and schedule it for a first reading. I think these changes are relatively simple. I mean, we got a lot of pages, but most of them there's not changes on. Perhaps maybe what we could do is get an email of just the pages with the changes on it to make it a little less of a thick packet. And I only had one really, really small correction, which was on page 20, which references the police chief, and I think it should say public safety director. In the first paragraph.
Said page 20.
Page 20?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I have, section 8-40. I'm looking at what I printed out, is what was given at the table.
Oh.
Different?
Must be.
It's page 21.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, here, right there. Yes. We've got it.
Got it, thank you.
And I know our animal control officer is here. I don't know if he wanted to address, or Mr. Rohib, or if he was here just to answer questions if we had any.
Yeah, you know what I could do is tomorrow I can make you out just a real quick outline of, it'd probably be 1-page outline of the changes. It'd be a little bit easier to follow than go through 20 or 30 pages. But I think for the most part, we've had several meetings, myself and the animal control officer and our city attorney, and I think the changes are reasonable. I mean, we totally did an overhaul with this whole animal control program, and it's going great. And this is one of the last things we're going to do is we want to tighten up some of the ordinances. I think they make a lot of sense, and I can do. I'll do the outline tomorrow. I'll send it out to everybody, and then we can have a discussion at the next meeting, or during that time, if you have any questions, we can have them all answered by the next meeting. So.
Sounds good to me.
In the first reading too, will not include the entire animal ordinance. It'll just include those sections that are being proposed to have amendments made to them.
So when did you decide to do that first reading at the next meeting?
It'd be the first meeting in November,
November 11th?
November 11th. I know they're back-to-back meetings.
Or 18th, November 18th.
Well, I think it would have to be 18.
Yeah.
The 19th?
Yeah.
You're right,
the
the
19th would be
19th.
better.
You're right, the 19th.
Okay.
Okay. Madam Mayor, that's all I had. I would just like to also echo what everyone else has said this evening on behalf of the city attorney's office. It's been an honor working for you, and I think you've done a great job, and we'd just like to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm not gone yet.
This is my
I have a little
report
bit more in that meeting on the 11th, and I can get my say in. All right. But thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right, let's move into new business. Our first item is discussion of the draft city council conference and travel policy.
Yeah. Want me to?
I think I was a little bit taken back by some of the things on this. I had some questions. I think it requires a little bit of further study. I don't know if all of council was able to review it.
I felt the same way. There were, there were a few things that I agreed with, but generally speaking, I appreciate the draft, but I'm not sure that it was in line with the discussions that we had at our last meeting. The first thing, I think I'd rather really start with just council asking what we want to see in the policy, because there's I think it would, for me at least, there were so many changes I would put into here. I think it would be time consuming to essentially use this as an outline. The major thing that jumped out to me is the maximum amount allotted for the council members in this draft is $12,500, when our current fiscal year, I believe we have budgeted $7,725. The last meeting that we had, the numbers I had thrown out at the time were limiting each council member to $1,500 and the mayor to $1,725, in line with what we've already budgeted. If there are extenuating circumstances that come up, we can always increase the budget if there's something that merits sending council members to. But at least to start, I would like to keep those limits lower, in line with what we currently have budgeted.
So you said 1,500 and 1,750.
17.
50 for the mayor, 1,500 for council?
I think it was 1725. is what I have written down.
Other budget.
And the one thing that I wanted to address too is that this says the money can be used for city council conferences and for travel, but I want to clarify that it can be also used for like education purposes. I don't think we should limit it just to conferences.
As an example, you're talking about education, like
Like
the citizen planning.
Right, the citizen planning and things that, even if we wanted to take classes, I know MML officers, elected official classes, things like that should be included.
Well, I think that's pretty much a broad category, and we did say such as Michigan municipal education events, but, and that was just in referral to in-state conferences, but I think anything that Michigan Municipal League or the SEMCOG or the planner, MSU is usually the one that has state.
Right.
Other classes.
So I think what I would like to do tonight is just set those limits and then revisit, perhaps give input to the city manager to revisit what we'd like to see the policy to actually look like.
I would agree with that, Michael. I would suggest that maybe everybody on council review this and send it back to Mr. Cotton, and then he can put it together with suggestions that we've all made, and then bring it forward.
So do you want to make a motion tonight to set the limits?
Yes, I will make a motion to set the limits for the educational and training expenses to be set at $1,500 for each council member and $1,725 for the mayor.
Support?
Any further discussion on that before we vote? All right, please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. Next item is the award of the bid for the purchase of deciduous trees as per a grant for reimbursement.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to award the purchase of 50 deciduous trees to Steinkopf and Sons Wholesale of Snover, Michigan. The low bidder meeting specifications for the prices stated in its bid dated September 18, 2019, for a maximum expenditure of $6,250 with reimbursement expected from the Macomb County Planning Department.
Support?
Move support.
May I say that Mayor Pixley and Joe Marucci are responsible for this. I think your instigation, and so we appreciate your.
I can't stand it when there's a grant that's available and for something that we need,
Right.
and we're not going after it. And
we're gonna have a water wagon to water the trees when we plant.
right, so I made poor Joe go with me to a meeting, and they said, "Oh yeah, we can give you 150 trees," and I said, well, "All right."
And because the bids came in, you can actually go up to 7,500. You can make that choice, while we're planning them or not later on. But that's how much money that you actually secured.
It irks me when I see other cities in Macomb County getting a lot of trees and getting the money to plant them as well. And so when I found out they still had 400 extra trees, man, I dragged Joe to that meeting. Poor Joe. So this is very nice. So please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. Item C is the approval of the additional MERS contribution in the budget amendment, BA 20-07. Mr. Blum, did you want to talk about this?
Yes. This is one of the ideas that had been bounced around for not pre-funding, but starting to fund the unfunded liability on the pension, trying to find ways to come up with extra money. What I ended up doing was I took the budget amount from last fiscal year for employee expense. That's not just wages, but it includes benefit cost, everything that's employee related. And then I compared that to what we actually spent last year, and then came up with the difference. My recommendation is to take the unspent employee money that we had already approved spending, take the unspent portion and use that as an extra contribution to MERS to reduce the unfunded portion of the pension liability. I took everything because you're going to have things like you might be under in wages, but you're over in health care. You might be under in health care, over in wages. It was just better to take all employee-related expenses instead of just looking at salary when I did this calculation. I did exclude the part-timers at the library. If I had not done that, the library amount would have been $51,000, and it didn't seem appropriate that the library spend their money funding the city's pension on the backs of unspent part-time money. Since they are a separate funded unit and they have their own needs outside of the full-time portion. But, I mean, that's really all there's to it. We had planned on spending that money. We didn't, so I'm recommending that we spend it now and make it as a pension contribution.
Any questions for Mr. Blum?
I think it's a great idea.
Any questions? All right, then we have a motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the additional contribution to MERS prior to December 31st in the amount of $635,158 and approve the related budget amendment BA 20-7.
Support?
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
So the next item is the Parks Commission, one unexpired term for July 31st, 2021. This mayor's appointment with approval of City Council, and I'd like to nominate Eleanor Niehoff. And Sarah Lucido tells me that this lady's been coming to the Parks Commission, even though she's not a commissioner, and so they welcome her, and they would like to see her become an official member of the group. And probably some of you would remember her because she was active in My Dog. So we'd entertain a motion to approve the mayor's appointment of Eleanor Niehoff to the Parks Commission.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve the mayor's appointment of Eleanor Niehoff to the Parks Commission to fill an unexpired term ending July 31st, 2021.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Our next item is Mr. Cotton's contract. So, Mr. Cotton, did you want to address this issue?
3 months goes by in a hurry. So I was reminded by that by GovTemps, so October 18th is the last day unless you'd like me to continue. And then it would go until January 17th, or you terminate for some other reason.
Madam
Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve an agreement to extend the agreement with GovTemps USA for additional 3 months to January 17th, 2020.
I'll support that.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Next item is payroll and bills.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve payment of the bills, in the amount of $3,210,401.47.
Support.
Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. We'll move on to the second hearing of the public, please. Mr. Dan.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Pixley. I just wanted to let you know about the when I went to the football game last week. It sounds really good, and it sounds like all brand new. I can hear loud and clear. And another thing I wanted to let your wonderful people know, Is it possible if you can answer this question before I sit back to my seat? I just wanted to let you guys know, could we take the PA system down before winter sets in? Because we don't want that to happen, because it's a brand new system and it sounds really good. I wanted to know if that's all right with you, to store it someplace like in this building or in the other place, wherever you want to do it. That's fine. And I just wanted to get this straightened out so I can know what's happening. And I talked to Mr. DeMonico and Miss, whatever her name is. So I just wanted to ask about that too. Please do so. And Mayor Pixley, I thank you so much for your time to be friends. Also, I've been knowing you for a long time, and I just gonna thinking about you when I stand out by the cold winter day. I just wanted to let you know how grateful you are for me, for your family. And another thing I wanted to ask, my last thing. This council meeting is really good for me, and I just like to. It's just a good thing to have family outings and things like that. So I just wanted to say, Mayor, thank you so much, and good luck on your last day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Christine Timmon, happy new resident of Eastpointe. I've got to do my rebuttal from Miss Gladney. She's a mayoral candidate. She's saying that nobody said anything until 3 weeks into it. That's because the people were scared. You bring in the Department of Justice, talking about some blasted racism. The white people, if they had said something, they would have raised our roof. The only time this started was the night that I went to a meeting and Miss Owen was prancing across the room, giving all this miseducation. I was the one who spoke up and said to the two people, the Spanish guy and the other person, this is based on racism. This one particular one. And what I can see here is gentrification. They're doing it all over the country. It doesn't mean that the older people are going to try to discriminate. It just means the new ones get in with the thing. Join all the commissions. Get all your people out. Don't call no Department of Justice and bring this type of stuff down. And Miss Gladney, I don't know how she be telling y'all that you didn't know nothing about the Constitution. She don't either. Nobody knows it in the doggone country. So I rebut her. I rebut Mr. Edmund. He said he didn't like what Christine Taylor said. I ain't say it. I didn't write it. I read it. So you disagreeing with 25 points of state and constitutional law. This Uganda-style voting and this Detroit racist-style vote is why the people are here. That's why you had to do gentrification. Every time they had a whole black council and all that mess, they stole all the darn money and tore up the doggone neighborhood, so they gentrified. So it's best the thing to do to come in and be a real part of the country. And it's like Simone Biles. They can't just say, well, it's only one black gymnast, so she gonna win, and the rest of them, because they are, you can't do it like that. And it's a violation of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And also, on Miss Owen, I will just let her know, I did go by all the restaurants where her signs are, and I passed out what ranked choice voting really is. And I'm just telling you people, between Tanya and Miss Owen, you still ain't got a mayor. Between the two of them, you ain't got a mayor. That's what I got to say about it. And Mr. Carmody, I think he's great. I don't really know him, but I think he would be great to come back to join one of the people who already been there, like Miss Lucida Esposito and them, and Cardi, I get sick of him and always saying, I can't articulate, I don't understand. So if either one of these people be the mayor, I'm gonna be working, because they're gonna be doing dumb stuff, and I'm gonna be out down at the courthouse. The only one I support is the two people who actually sit there and do all the running, everybody else, Mr. Kleinfeld, or Ms. Gazito, or Mayor Pixley. I don't need that. I need somebody who know what they doing. I don't want to base anything on any racism, and I champion the white people in my area. I told them, get up and start suing somebody. Under Article 6, Clause 2, you can do all of these things. You just download the doggone JS-44 on line 6. That's where you do it, because if you're going to start being scared now to be white, get scared forever. Stop it. You got the same darn rights that everybody else do. Do not let this reverse discrimination thing take over our country. It's not gonna. I've been on the line with Congress today and the House and the Senate of Michigan. All of these violations.
You have 30 seconds.
Okay, they using one thing, Section 2, when it's 25 more things that you can use in a legal battle. This is a constitutional battle that we're in. Anybody want to know anything else? I'll give you one of my cards. We got actually time to injunct it. I told Gretchen them. I told Gretchen and Dana Nessel, y'all supposed to be injuncting this mess because it violates parts of the Michigan
Your time is
Constitution.
up.
Even if we don't win, we're supposed to fight.
Thank you, Christine. Anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. DeHunt.
John DeHunt, it's kind of hard to follow. So perception becomes reality. I've said that before, and sometimes reality becomes perception. Last week I'm at the gym, good workout, go and sit in the sauna, and the sauna's good for bitching about the games that the Detroit Lions have lost and other things. And there were some gentlemen sitting in there talking about our city. So I sit down quietly and I'm listening. And suddenly it becomes a discussion about our mayoral election. Really? And then they start talking about some gentleman who's in the insurance business flowing a lot of money into candidates into the city. And I had suspicions. And then I started to think to myself, we are a family town, a family community. Why are we accepting money from outside of our community? We're a small town. You're not exactly getting rich up here for what you're doing. We're a small town, so why are we getting money flowing in from outside of our city? We're just a dinky little community. We want to take care of our own. We are a family town. We are not Detroit. We are not Washington, D.C. So why are we taking money from lobbyists? Why are we taking money from, forgive me for saying it, but the marijuana industry? We all know it's flowing in. There have been pictures floating around about fundraisers. So my question becomes, and this is what I would like to ask of everybody who's running for office. And we all know that somebody can hand you a little bit of cash and you can put it into your campaign finance as a personal loan, and there are all sorts of ways that you can make things look pretty on a campaign finance form that doesn't have to be reported until like way too late. I would love everybody to publicly state if they are accepting any money from outside of the city, and if so, why are you accepting money from outside of the city? Why are you accepting money from businessmen? Shouldn't you be raising funds within our community? Because this is who you serve, is our community. You don't serve outside interests, you serve inside interests. So that perception that I had in the locker room, I fear is becoming reality. So hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully you all will tell me and publicly state, are you taking money from outside the community? So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Ms. Gladney?
that is a legitimate question that you asked. And as a candidate, I have not taken any money from no candidate. All my funds came from me, my work, and what I do. So I haven't even set up a GoFundMe page or whatever you want to call it, fundraiser or anything. All my funds have came from me and my household, what we earn, what we work, and what we get. So just to put that on the record, not a quarter.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Edwards?
Larry Edwards, Eastpointe resident. As a candidate for council, I can go on record and tell you I haven't received 1 penny from nobody.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Creech?
Harvey Creech, candidate for mayor, and to the mayor and the council, I haven't taken a dime from anybody. All mine has been my money, and that's all I can say. I wish I could have afforded maybe for a little bit more, but I ran it on my back. I say my dollar's my dollar, my dime is my dime, my pens were my pens. When I talked to the people, I was as honest as I could be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? All right, that second hearing in the public is closed. Move on to mayor and council reports. Let's start with Mr. Kleinfeld, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In response to the last few comments made, I would like to reiterate how important it is that when we have the hearing in the public and we have discussions at our meetings, that they pertain to city business. I don't think it's the right forum to comment on elections or what's coming, especially because for those of us that are candidates that are sitting up here, it's fundamentally unfair that we're sitting behind a microphone and it's televised, and we just don't get to use the city resources that way. So I'm not commenting on the election. In regards to, Mr. Cotton, I was happy to extend your contract to January and another 2 or 4 years if you change your mind. So I do want to thank the police department and also Mr. Albright for working so hard on the recent shooting that occurred. And not only are you guys working hard on the case, you're already looking at solutions to stop it from happening again or make the city safer, and I appreciate that. And look forward to hearing what our options are. The ACDC, the Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission, I normally don't say ACDC, but you said that earlier, so it came out, is having their art exhibit on Thursday from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Patriot Building. I hope to see you there. And Mayor Pixley, I'm reserving my comments for your next meeting because you do have one meeting left. So
A half a meeting.
and at that time,
And no closed session after that one, so that'll be really good.
yes. So I'll say my goodbyes at that time, but I'll see you then.
Mr. Cito.
So first, I would like to remind everyone that tomorrow, the 8K homeowners is having their monthly meeting at the Community Choice Credit Union on 9 Mile Road at 1 p.m. And I would like to also give a big shout out to Pace. They held a really nice luncheon today for the mayor. There was a lot of very nice comments. It is incredible what she has done for the city, but I'm going to also save most of my comments for the next meeting. And in regards to the question about the campaign, I am more than happy to answer that question. Anytime people can reach out to me, I'd be more than willing to let everyone know that information at that time, just not up here. So that's it this evening.
Okay, Ms. Owens.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I would like to thank everybody for coming out and listening to what we had to say. My sister is in the audience. I think this is her first council meeting. So I'm happy. She lives all the way in Southfield, so I'm glad she came out just, educating people and sometimes pulling people in to see how council works and what we do and how to vote and things like that. Educating people is some of the things that is very important to me. That's why we have the ranked choice voting education, was because I fought for that. Also, I want to say thank you to Mayor Pixley. I had 2 years. A lot of people had more years with you. But the time I've been sitting here, I've watched you. I've learned from you. You sat with me and talked to me about things and mentored me. And I appreciate that, because I know when you first sat there, you didn't know everything. And you admitted that to me. And as you grew, your education grew and things like that. And I will do the same, learning from you.
Thank you.
And hopefully, when you do step down, you can still continuously mentor us through the process, because you still have a lot in you and a lot to give, and that is what you do, you give back. And also, speaking about giving back, tomorrow I'll be at Capsule Elementary School teaching the kids about what a council person does. And because a lot of the civics have been taken out of our schools and kids don't know what a council person does and things like that. And I just want to also give back to the kids, because a lot of things that I didn't learn at their age, they're going to learn it at 5, 6, and 7 years old, which I had to learn at 30 years old. So my platform is not just to be seen, but do things behind the scenes and educate our youth, which I have been doing ever since I've been sitting here. And hopefully some of the education Ms. Timmons has, she will pass along as, the youth as well. Also, my kids who go to St. Peter's, they won again. They have been undefeated. So, St. Peter's is one of the top schools in Eastpointe right now. It's a private school, so I am so excited. I want to say congratulations to them for just being successful in all they do. I think they get that from their mom, so I'm just going to say that. And I just thank everybody for being concerned about the ranked choice voting. I believe that we have an event tomorrow at Captain Jay's. It was all over Facebook that they want to participate in voter education. Anybody that's a registered voter in Eastpointe, you will get they have a special tomorrow for those who are registered to vote. And also it will be information there about ranked choice voting. We want to get people out there knowing what ranked choice voting is and things like that. A lot of people still don't know, so sometimes you have to just do things strategically to get their attention. I know we did the newspaper, the water bills, and things like that. And like I go around talking to people, a lot of people still don't know that we're doing it. So I just want to say thank you to Captain Jay's for opening their business and doing that for the city of Eastpointe and helping us. And so we want to use all our resources in Eastpointe to help us get our residents educated, because we are the first city in Michigan to actually use it. So all these people that's coming out helping us, I want to say thank you, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. DeMonico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to touch on ranked choice voting first. Thanks, Mr. Fairbrother, for all the work you've done on it. And anyone out in the audience, please come out to those meetings because it is in your it's best for you to rank all of your candidates. Come out to the meeting. It's best for your vote, like specifically your own vote, to rank all candidates. It's not better to just rank one or just rank two. Come out and our experts can help explain why, answer any question about it, but please do that. And your vote counts. He said, Mr. Fairbrother also said, we're going to do the public accuracy test. Come on out. It's public. Trying to make this as transparent as possible, because of course it is new. So please come out, learn as much as you can, tell your neighbors about it, and your vote will not be stifled. It counts. Your vote counts. Also, thank you, Mr. Rohib, for everything the police department had done over the weekend with the very tragic incident. Appreciate everyone's work. I know it was a lot of work and a long time, so thank you for keeping us updated, and thank you for everything you guys have done. Also to Mr. DeHaan out in the audience here, as an appointed official of the city, you should know we should not be talking about campaigns during public time. It's completely inappropriate to talk about campaigns. Talk to candidates after if you want, but not during meetings. And I really do not appreciate that you're insinuating anyone here has done anything inappropriate. Like I said, you're an appointed official of the city. Hold yourself to a higher standard, please. And on October 25th, campaign finance reports are due, so check them out then. Last Friday, as Mr. Dan Zander knows, and thank you again for bringing up the speaker's idea. We'll consider that and figure that out. Of course, the football team won their homecoming game. It was a great time. The speakers did work very well. I even faintly heard them once I got home. And also, thanks everyone that gave blood. Thank you again to the fire department, Mr. Rohab and everyone, and Mr. Sage and fire department for offering the department up to give blood. We gathered a lot of pints of blood. And happy Halloween to everybody. And don't forget, of course, Election Day is November 5th. And then also, Madam Mayor, I know it is not your last meeting, but I have one little thing for you. From our time on the DDA, I have a little concrete shamrock for you.
Thank you.
Does
it light up?
Oh, yeah, man, I failed there. It does not light up.
Wow. This is going to be really tough, but I'm going to be on my high horse today. I got back last night about 8 o'clock, less than 24 hours ago, from Fort Lauderdale, where my daughter lives. And she happens to be the president of the Broward County League of Women Voters. And one of their biggest campaigns right now is to protect children from guns. Every time you read about Parkland or any other place, you get really, really frightened that a situation like that could happen in Eastpointe. And I think we've been very, very fortunate, but times are changing. And the fact that a gun was found in an unlocked car is scary in itself. The good thing about that is it wasn't found by a kid who doesn't know how to use a gun correctly. And we have places in the city where you can go and learn about gun safety. So, of course, today I'm on my high horse, less than 24 hours after coming back, and I have to talk to the police department about gun locks, safety locks. Are they available? Well, guess what? Each of you on council today got a safety lock for a gun, because I would really like you to push on this. This is called Project Child Safe. If you have a gun in your house, this is a very, very simple thing to do. And it just happens that our police department has a great number of these, because they require that anybody that comes in and registers a gun has one of these. So I know we have a lot of hunters and so forth in Eastpointe. My husband was a hunter. We had an over and under, a shotgun, a rifle. We had every kind of gun that was available, because he learned how to use it right. He was in the military. He knew how to use the guns appropriately. But I had 5 kids, and I'll tell you, every single minute I was scared to death that one of my kids, particularly my son, might get interested in that gun. And we separated ammunition from guns because we just kept them safe as possible. And we had gun safes. But this is something that you can apply to an individual gun to protect it. So if you know anyone that has a gun and they have kids or not, this is something that should be utilized on every single gun unless you're using it appropriately. So I'm on my high horse. This is gun safety. So please, if you have any questions, talk to the chief, either Eric Kaiser, who just happened to know where all these were, or Mr. Ruiz. Thank you. I did want to address the discussion that I had. I was going to appoint people to the Arts Commission, and we do have 3 vacancies on the Arts Commission, or 3 terms that are up. I have a little bit of concern about conflict of interest with appointment to someone that is on the council and their mate. But this isn't something that I can discuss. I don't think it's right. I think it should be the new council discussing it, so I did not fill that position. But currently on the ACDC, there are 2 people that are relatives of elected officials. So we do have an ordinance that applies to the civil service, saying that you cannot have an elected official be a relative of an elected official appointed to that. But it does not apply to all of our commissions. I checked it out statewide. There are about 34 cities that do have that, and I would just ask that the future council refer to that and do it, because currently you have people that are out of date with their appointments, but they're relatives of people that are elected officials. So I just thought it's better for somebody else to do it. It's not that I'm putting it aside because I'm lazy, it's just because I would rather that happen afterwards so that the brand-new council can make a decision and develop an ordinance related to it if necessary. So the only other thing I have, Mr. Creech, funny about your pens, because that's what I bought and gave away when I was elected. I still have a bunch of them, and I'm bringing them next week because I'm never running for election again. So that the next council meeting, everybody is going to get a pen that says vote for Pixley, because it's never going to happen again. And I would just like to say, when I was running for mayor for the first time, I was running against a male incumbent. And the last female had been elected in the 40s. So I really doubted that I was going to get elected. There was an article in the Macomb Daily the day I was passing out my literature. You know, just before the election, the Saturday before, you all go crazy. You got to pass out literature everywhere. You walk so fast and so furious. And there was an article that appeared in the newspaper. And it said that Mrs. Pixley was an old, retired, gray-haired lady. Well, that was 12 years ago. And that I had no idea what it was like to be involved in family life. And that I had no idea what it was like to work. Well, I had just finished 42 years of nursing, so whoever wrote that article had no idea what work really was, because when you work 12-hour shifts in a row, you find out what work really is. And when you're a single parent to 5 kids, you really know what it's like to be a family person. So I was telling that to my kids, and they've all decided to come up and reclaim their mother. So they're coming from Colorado, Florida, Texas. They're all coming up to reclaim their mother at the next council meeting. So you will get to meet my kids, and we have a reception afterwards, and I invite you all to come and meet my kids, because they tell me that I'm retiring again, and no ifs, ands, and buts. So anyway, I will entertain a motion to end this council meeting without a closed session.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported, please call the roll.
Councilperson DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilperson Lucido?
Yes.
Councilperson Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilperson Owens?
Yes.
And Mayor Pixley.
Yes.
Wow.
8:30, nice. Okay, here you go.
Thank you again for coming and speaking.
It was a great comment about guns.
It's scary. You know, where she